This looks like one of the simplest things I could make, but it's actually one of the fiddliest. I'm trying to get perfectly clean, clear numbers to make my clock face easy to read. I've made a downloadable stencil, so let's see if I can keep it sharp. I'm going to use a piece of Tyvek under the clock face, so I start with a layer of slip. And then I smooth a piece of Tyvek onto the wheel. There are a couple of kinds of Tyvek. Mine's the fabric kind, so I smooth it down well. I'm using 2.2 kilos of my fine white mid-fire clay. I start by pushing my clay down onto the wheel, and then I can center. My clay's quite soft, which I find advantageous when using Tyvek. I find that firmer clay can dislodge the Tyvek. You don't need to use Tyvek under your clay for this project, but it does give you a good finish and makes trimming a little easier. And then I flatten the clay to about 29 centimeters. This will be the diameter of my clock face. And then I push down into the clay, leaving a little under a centimeter in the base. Because I'm using Tyvek, I won't need to wire through, but if I were to wire through, I'd have to leave a little bit more clay. As I mentioned, my clay's really soft, so I'm using a sponge to help open out. I've found that this helps to prevent overly wet clay from shearing off. And I compress as I go. Compressing will help cracking, particularly on a piece as flat as this. And now I can form the walls. I make the walls about 3.5 centimeters, enough to fit the clock mechanism. I'm keeping the walls pretty straight, so I use a rib. And then I trim around the base. I also create a slight inward turned ridge at the rim. I think that this will easily allow me to hang the clock. And I'm going to mark out the hole for the clock mechanism. I'll cut it to the correct size later. And I set aside to dry to leather hard. So I'm ready to trim the clock face. And I can peel away the Tyvek. I center the clock face and trim. The trimming's pretty minimal here. And I trim really lightly across the face. First with a sponge and then with a rib. And then I cut the hole to size, keeping in mind it has to be wide enough to fit the shaft from the clock mechanism. And then I set aside to dry fully. Once dry, it's time to create the numbering. I use my circle guide to mark out the spacing for the numbering. I'm keeping it simple. I'm going to put numbers at 12, 3, 6, and 9. My circle guide is perfect for this. If you'd like a copy of my handy circle guide, use the link in the description to request a PDF emailed. For the numbering, I've created a stencil. I've printed it out on standard copy paper, which I've found works quite well for masking. So I need to carefully cut around the numbers. Like my circle guide, this stencil is available as an emailed PDF using the link in the description. And to stay up to date with all our videos full of tips and ideas, be sure you're subscribed to our channel. I'm really taking my time here cutting out the numbers, so I'm going to fast forward through the next bit. Once the numbers are cut out, I'm going to add them to the clock face with water. And I'll have to work quite quickly here. I place the number in position and just gently brush with water so that the paper adheres to the greenware. And then I carefully brush a black underglaze around the numbers. And then I can peel away the masked numbers. If there's any underglaze bleed, I just remove it with a pin tool. And then I fill in the areas around the numbering with underglaze. And then I once fire. And I'm ready to assemble the clock. The clock mechanism is held in place with a washer and a nut. And then the hands are put in place. I feel as if the hands don't stand out enough, so I decide to spray paint them orange. And that's enough for the contrast my clock needs. Check out the links in the description for emailed PDFs of both the circle guide and the number template. And remember to like and comment below. It's much appreciated. To make another super useful item that you use every day, why not check out our portable lamp video? And as always, happy potting!